Hey guys, welcome to the Complete Combatant. I'm Brian Hill, the head instructor with the Complete Combatant, and I'm going to talk to you today about things that I think will improve your practice. We often talk technical terms. We all do a lot of videos on technique and how to get better at technique. But the other side of the equation is we need to work on psychological and physiological skills. All right, how do we make decisions under pressure? What are our cognitive biases? But also, how does our body react to stress, and what hormones or chemicals are we releasing in our body that allows us to adapt and overcome stress? Those are important things. When you practice, you need to keep four things in mind. Right? First thing and most important thing is you have to have a clear goal in your practice. This is one thing I see missing with a lot of people in their practice, is that they don't have a clear goal. They skip around from one technique to the next, and when I ask them if they're disciplined, they always say yes, but then they tell me, well, I worked on this, and then I worked on this, and I'm doing reloads, and I'm working on one-handed shooting, and I want to be a grandmaster, and I want to win this, and I want to be able to defend myself in any situation. So make a clear goal for what you want to do. As an instructor, I have three clear goals in my classes. Number one is that I need to get people to draw the pistol safely and efficiently and accurately. That's all one goal. I need to get them to call shots so that they know where every shot's going, all right? And then I need to be able to do that in multiple shots. So those are the three things I think they're most important for the armed citizen. Now, if I'm talking about tactics, I want them to be able to do verbal commands. I'd like to have some basic footwork, and I want them to be able to draw with different things happening with the support hand. Okay? Strategy-wise, I'd want to be able to manage contacts, all right? Be able to talk, verbalize, switch from pepper spray, use combative skills, or draw the pistol if I need to. So I'm constantly building that in my program. One is technical, one is tactics, one is strategy. So we got to figure out what we're going to practice. What is a real weak point for us in practice? So let's get some clear goals. What are we going to work on? If you're going to work on the draw, work on the draw. Get good at it, understand why you're doing it, and make sure that you make it as robust as possible. Now, when I say the word robust, it doesn't mean excessive motions. It means that you get a lot of novelty in the experience. Sometimes your hands are down, sometimes your hands up. Maybe the support hand's busy. Maybe you're giving verbal commands. Maybe you have to turn before you draw. That would make it more novel, all right? Make clear goals. Get immediate feedback in whatever you're doing. If you're shooting, the most important thing for you is to call your shots in advance. All right, now what does that mean? People aren't very good at this. I'll tell you, the dot makes it a lot easier because it simulates what we see in life. The iron sights are difficult because we have three focal planes, not really three focal planes, but we have three things to pay attention to. And the dot's just moving on the target. When I say call the shot, what it means is wherever that dot is, when it lifts, that bullet would have hit right here at the beginning of the lift. My immediate feedback then is calling the shot in advance of it hitting the target, so that I know that I did a good job or not. Part of the problem with shooting is there's a long pause in between feedback and action, so therefore it doesn't improve very much. Let me give you a for instance. If you're a boxer and you dropped your hands, what happens? You get hit in the face. It's called immediate feedback. It is not pleasant, but it does tend to get you to put your hands up more. Okay? When we're shooting, if we can call the miss or we can call the hit, we get immediate feedback. So that's our second step, is immediate feedback. Our third step with this, you guys can hear the cows up there. All right, we got the cows in the pasture, it's awesome. Okay, our third step with this, after we've done the other two, is the ability to be able to focus 100% on what we're doing. If I'm clearly present and I think about nothing but what I'm doing in the process, then I will do better at it. When my concentration begins to fade, I either need to reset or practice is over at that point. So have a clear concentration, okay? That's not easy for some of us. We're over-caffeinated, we're full of sugar, our attention jumps around like a spider monkey on Mountain Dew, so it's hard to concentrate. So we got to find a place that allows us to concentrate. It has to be interesting enough. And the final point is this: you need to be above your challenge skill ratio, okay? What is the challenge? It needs to be at least 4% greater for most people, but for some of you hard chargers, it may be as much as 20%. What does that mean? You've been to a class where you've been understimulated, or a contest you've been understimulated and you check out. But you've also been to that situation where the guy overwhelms you, you don't have anything, you know what happened, he'll tell you were drinking from a fire hose, but you're not clear what you were working on, and it was too far above your skills. So we always need to make our practice just slightly above our ability to do so. So if we're working on a par time, it should be just out of reach. We shouldn't be getting it 90% of the time. We should get it less so that we're reaching and striving for something. If we're working on an accuracy, we should increasingly improve our accuracy ability and maybe adding a time component to it. So, once you can get 10 rounds in a B8 like this, then you do it in 10 seconds. Then you do it in 8 seconds, and then you do it in 5 seconds. So you're constantly challenging and refining the decisional process of what you're doing. And that allows you to move ahead. So let's go through those 4 again, because this is really important for your deliberate practice. And this is also the precursors to getting into a flow state. Flow state is easily induced by athletes if they have a good preparation for it. All right. Number 1 is we got to have clear goals. We got to know what we're striving after. Number 2 is we need immediate feedback into what's happening. If we can't get the immediate feedback, we've got to go back and work on shot calling, because that is the most important skill for everybody shooting, is they've got to know that they did a good job or a bad job. So pay attention in that. All right. We need to be fully present. So that means concentrating on what we're doing, not worrying about the past when I missed before, not worrying about the future that I might miss now, or I might not do it as fast as I want to, but being fully present for the whole process. And the final part is it needs to be slightly challenging for you. That way it'll make it interesting, okay? It's not always going to be fun, but interesting is important. You should always be challenging the edge of your limits. Don't practice the same thing over and over, because eventually you'll start to degrade. You've got to, like lifting weights, you got to get a little stronger, so you make increments all the time. So challenge skill ratio is a really important part of that. That's going to help you with the physiological and psychological side of this. And it's going to make your practice much, much more efficient and productive overall. You've got to make sure, look at your practice, make sure those 4 things are there, and see if you can improve it. Okay? It's taken me a long time to get to these points. There's good science behind it now. Neuroscience is really doing a good job of identifying why these things are important. There's a great list of books on my website, on my recommendations and attributions page, so check that out. There's good reading material in there, and do some research. But if your practice is not getting you where you want, you need to start thinking about why it's failing you. Because just by practicing by horsepower, by doing thousands of repetitions, this doesn't mean you'll get better. There's a certain group of people that self-select themselves like this. We're kind of masochistic by behavior, and we can just take a tremendous amount of abuse in our training. It shouldn't be that way, though. Really good athletes are easily coachable. And what happens if you become a better coach for yourself, you can reach inside yourself and you can pull your performance out much sooner and quicker than you need to. Otherwise, you're going to take years and years and work on things so hard until you finally get to the struggling phase, and then you release and do the things that you're supposed to anyway. Look at top-level performers. Ask them how much they practice compared to how much they used to practice. Once we build these skills, we isolate what's important, we can get better faster all the time. All right, guys. I'm traveling the country, I'm teaching these classes, deliberate coaching. Even if you're not an instructor, it's for you. You'll become a better shooter because your first client is always yourself, okay? And it will make your practice methodology deliberate by its nature. You'll be able to be predictive, you'll be able to adapt, you'll be able to diagnose what your problems are, which I think is clearly lacking sometimes in shooting, okay? Do a red dot class, it's a great class too. I use the same principles in it, I just don't talk about the inside depth of it. I get you to do the same thing. And then we have our image-based instructional drill class, which is more strategies and tactics of how to tool cycle, how to cognitively stack and get ready for it. All right, I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope that helps you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you would, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, or share this with somebody, because it helps me a lot. I work very hard at what I do, and I'm not a controversial human being by nature. I'm more about working and becoming a master at what I do. And often that doesn't sell videos, so I'm counting on you guys to help me out a little bit. Share it with people you might think are struggling just like you are, and get them ahead of the process. I'm Brian Hill with The Complete Combatant, and as always, measure, refine, and perform.